Understand one critical fact. The single most important decision you are ever going to make in your life as a woman isn't what school you went to. It isn't what car you drive. It isn't what city you live in. It isn't what field you go into to get a degree. It isn't even what job you get. The single most important decision you will ever make in your life as a woman is the quality of the man you have next to you. This will be more important than anything else. This will be the single most important factor in determining which way you go in life, how difficult it will be, where you live, how you live, and if you will continue living. Yes, it is just that serious. And probably most important to tonight's topic, it will determine if you will ever be able to stop working. Does not matter what you think or what you feel. This is the mathematical reality. And what I brought you tonight is all of the pertinent data, statistics, analysis, everything that you will need to quantify what I'm saying. Last night's program was very informative and very comprehensive, and we're going to review much of that here in a more condensed fashion. But the long form version is on Patreon. I want to make sure I didn't have any issues as far as certain other sensitive content that was in it. So to avoid that, it's on Patreon. But tonight, I really need you all to make sure you hold me down with likes and shares here for the program, because YouTube is going to try very hard to suppress this. This is going to hurt a lot of feelings, but it's going to be necessary. We are going to just get straight off into it here. What I want you to understand is, first and foremost, the majority of the people in this country are not going to be able to retire. They think they will, but they won't. Or their definition of retirement is going to be radically different than their parents' was. So what they're going to find that when the day actually comes to pull the trigger and make that move, they are in for a tremendous sticker shock. But worst of all, it is going to hit black women in particular. Those are the ones it is going to hit hardest most of all. They are absolutely not prepared, not ready, and it has nothing to do with where you live, going to school to get a degree. These are all con jobs that have been run on you. Because the problem is, you're not going to be able to retire. You will have to work until you die. If you are a black woman listening to me right now, you are 25, 28, 30, 35, 40, God forbid 45, 50 or older, you are going to have to work until you die. The numbers are simply not there for you. And when I discuss about the numbers, I don't mean the numbers you might think. I'm not simply talking about retirement savings threshold. I am talking about one number in particular. It doesn't matter whether you have $10,000 in the bank and $100,000 in your retirement savings. If you don't have the one man, you will not be able to do so. You will have to continue working. You are not going to be able to hold your head down and be stubborn and just power through it. It will not work that way. Stubbornness does not overcome mathematics. Prepare yourself for a sobering program here tonight. First and foremost, what I want to begin with is what the actual numbers of income are. I don't care where you looked anywhere else. If you go and take a look at what the Social Security Administration has to say about that, and by the way, just in case there's any doubt about that, from the Social Security Administration, there you go. Here are the actual numbers as far as the income that black women make at each age range compared to their white, Hispanic, and Asian counterparts. And as you probably could have guessed here, the data is not very encouraging. This is not my supposition. If you want to know where the last 5 decades of feminism, anti-black maleism, difficulty, stubbornness, black woman attitude, I'm going to be brutally frank tonight and terribly blunt in the manner in which I'm usually not where this subject matter is concerned. But we need some harsh medicine now. If you want to know where it ended up at, this is where it ended up at. We're not talking about folks who from decades and decades ago. We're talking about where the numbers stand now. This is where it ended up. This is where we're at. As you can see on your screens here, when they reach their peak earning ability here in America, they don't leave, they hit the 30s and never leave. That is basically the story of black women in America. They hit the 30,000 range and then that's pretty much it. And for those of you who want to talk about, well, getting a degree and more skilled and this, that, and the other, don't worry, we're going to cover that before the day is over. But these are where the numbers lie. And then you go ahead and take a look at your white, Asian, and Hispanic counterparts here. Just understand. And that Hispanic one should come with an asterisk by it, as we all know. But it's not very encouraging. Meanwhile, over there with the men, if you want to know how the men are faring before you even attempt to say, well, black men's ain't doing so good, neither's. Actually, when you take a look at that, the black men are only in that 30,000 range in their 30s. Which is what I have spent all this time telling you all about here now for years. No, I'm not sitting up here making up numbers that callers can come in and clown you for. Shout out Kevin Scamuels. I have told you all about where a man's peak viability is, where a woman's is, and when you take a look at it, this is what I've always told you. Now the Social Security Administration, with their data and analysis of what people are paying in, it simply bears out what I've always told you, that as black men in your 20s, they're sitting up here chasing sex. They're being very distracted. By the time they hit their 30s, things get real. And you can see by the radical difference between what the women are making at these ages and stages and what the men are getting. The men are taking it damn serious. The men are taking it damn serious. One of these people is putting in enough and doing enough and taking the situation seriously enough to become that workhorse. And the other, whether they're taking it seriously or not, they're simply not able to compete with what the workhorse is able to do. They are simply not able to keep up with what the workhorse can do. You don't just have a man around because it's nifty or it sounds cute. What you need to have is a producer around, because that producer is a man who's going to have answers. And as a man with answers, he is going to get to work on that every day for your benefit. That is why you need to enter into a union with him. Because while the others will be out there struggling, you will not be left to that. But first and foremost, these are the numbers about who is earning what and how. What if you didn't do that? What if you didn't? Where are you going to be at? Well, if you go out there asking for advice, it's not going to be a whole lot of helpful out there. As we covered here last night, Bankruptcy Forum, basically most of their suggestions were, what about your man? If you're a woman in financial difficulty, considering bankruptcy or whatever, we can probably help you with that. What about your man? Have you looked at your man? Did you get divorced? Are you going to get divorced? Do you need to get divorced? What about your man? Does he have retirement? Do you have a man? All their suggestions circle back around to, do you have a man? Because they understand that in this economic system, you cannot do it by yourself. It doesn't work that way. Because as a female, you don't gravitate to be able to do the things that are most valuable. The men will. And it'll usually cost them years of their lives, but that is their purpose. What I'm trying to tell you here is that it does not work. Working doesn't work. It will destroy you. It'll tear your psyche apart. Neck jerking, being defiant, being sassy. That sounds cute in the moment, but you will pay for it with the rest of your life. Hardcore math is what I'm dealing with for you here tonight. If you want to talk about who's ready for retirement, who are actually retirement account holders. Once again, this is one of those areas where they try to comfort their busted egos. They may try to drag black men into it. This one will go badly as well. As you can see, black women have about half what white men have. And while it might look like where they come in dead last, and it might look like they're close to black men until you ask another question. By the way, we talk about retirement account holders. How about assets altogether? Who's out here doing the most hustling? Who is out here doing the most investing here? Yikes. You take a look at the first chart here. When you talk about retirement account holders, this is individuals, women who are out there saying, well, don't worry, my job will take care of me. Don't worry, my job will take care of that. I'm paying into my 401k. My job will take care of that. Even among those who can, this is where they lie at. Okay, for retirement accounts. But when it comes to taking care of things on your own, take a look there. The black men are right where the black women are, which tells you that this is systemic. They got black folk locked and boxed if your primary focus is relying on their retirement accounts. But when it comes to relying on hustle and investing for yourself and getting things for yourself, take a look. The black men break away. Take a look at it. Now, on this chart here, the lower the number, the better. And as you can see here, yeah, we're not neck and neck there. The black men break away at this point. I am saying this to you to say that if you are still walking around in the delusion that you can do this on your own, this is foolish and silly at an epic level. Make sure you all are liking the program here tonight. I know it can be a tough pill to swallow, but this is a conversation that we need to have. What I'm telling you is that take a look. The workhorses are out here workhorsing. They are doing what they do. And the bottom line is that when you talk to these people who are saying that, hey, we want to help you with your bankruptcy if you're a black woman here are your options. Basically, all of their options come back to, have you been able to get a workhorse over the last 10, 20 years to go to work for you, ma'am? We can help you if you have actually paired yourself with a workhorse. Because if you're trying to pull it on your own, you won't be able to do this. Some of y'all, if you got stubborn, hard-headed mothers, sisters, aunts, girlfriends, you might be married to one right now. This is an essential broadcast for this. I'm going over the numbers, and you can see my sources for it. CNBC, bankruptcy, Investopedia, the Social Security Administration. So if anybody wants to sit up here and argue about it. The men are looking out for their futures at a rate that the females simply are not. And guess who's out here having the majority of the children trying to raise them by themselves? There's a tripwire. And why is this a bad thing? Why is this terrible? Well, because the math. When you go to Investopedia here, as you can see, and this one here is going to be rather devastating. When they were talking, I was showing you the graph here before about being an account holder of a retirement account. But here is why it will not work for the majority of you here. I'm about to break a bunch of souls right now. We're only 13 minutes in. Investopedia is telling you that primary inputs for the retirement calculator that they had on here. And by the way, I'm going to show you something that's going to be even more damning, so don't think it's going to get better. But in case you want to calculate for retirement, what they were telling you here is primary inputs include a starting 401k balance of $1,000, 22 as the age at which the employee starts working, a starting salary of $40,000 that grows at 3% per year, roughly the projected annual inflation rate, a 10% contribution rate, or initially at $4,000, a retirement age of 67, and an annual portfolio return of 8% a year. Now, you'll all remember that I've been telling you for years and years now, while my copycats have been out there plagiarizing me and screwing up the numbers and the analysis that I gave you. Remember, I told you that 401ks cannot work for you, and go watch PBS's The Retirement Gamble. Go watch PBS's The Retirement Gamble, and you'll find out. If you do not remember the 4 criterion I gave you, you have to start working early. You have to work the entire life cycle of your working life, which would be about 35, 40 years. You cannot have any gaps in or periods of unemployment. And you're going to have to make above median income. Now, that's what they don't tell you when you're sitting down talking about the 401k. So when you, as black people who are constantly behind the curve and constantly being messed with and harassed and moved from one place to another and can't really have economic stability like that, how many black folk do you know who've been working for the same employer for more than 3 years, more than 5 years? How many black folk do you know who haven't had a significant gap in employment? And what Investopedia is telling you is that you can't have any of the circumstances that routinely hit black people. How many black people do you know who had $1,000 in the bank at 22 years old, or have $1,000 in the bank at 22 years old today, right now? How many do you know? How many do you know who have a stable career, a stable job where they're not in danger of getting fired or whatever at 22? How many of you know a black person at 22 who has a job paying $40,000 a year at 22? Well, they're telling you that we're assuming that you've got these factors. These are things that can happen for white folk here. By the way, as the average black person, how many times have you seen that? How many times have you seen all of those converge together? By the time they're in their 30s, yeah, black folk are usually lagging way behind. By the time they're in their 30s, but by the time when they're 22 years old, this isn't my supposition about this. Oh no, we got the hardcore numbers here. Take a look at the numbers here. Black women as a group ain't hitting $40,000 a year by the time they're 40. Forget by the time they're 22. They ain't hitting $40,000 a year by the time they're 42. And for the real hard-headed ones out there who think that they're going to argue around and say, well, not me, I'm the exception. Oh, don't worry, I got you taken care of also. They go on here to say, with these inputs, including a disciplined contribution rate. What that means is, like I said before, you cannot have any months where you're not paying in the exact amounts they're going to give you here. You can't have any gaps. That's what it means by disciplined contribution rate. It means consistent and basically religious. You have to always put in. You can't miss the numbers. So, with these inputs, with a disciplined, uninterrupted contribution rate, and steady average market returns for more than 4 decades. This worker would be sitting pretty at age 66 with a total account balance of nearly 3.1 million. Now, I want you to think about that for a few moments. If you are 30 years old and just now getting to an employer or a job that is paying you stably, isn't giving you a bunch of garbage, and you can actually start acting on these things they have listed here, which is where most black folk usually lie, you'll have to pay in for 40 years. In other words, you're going to be 70. That's if you start right then. You'll be 70. Now, the number that they were given was actually for 45 years. But I'm going to spot you 5 years and say, you know what? I won't make you do the 45 by the time you're 30. Let's just say you got lucky and it's only paying in for 40 years. How many of you have known any black folk who've had a consistent track record like that in employment for 40 years? Then when you consider the average life expectancy for black males in America is 72. The average life expectancy for black females is about 76. Consider that for a few moments. The average life expectancy for black males in America is about 72. The average life expectancy for black females is about 76. And just to meet the numbers they got up here, you're going to have to hump it for 40 years. And if you are not in a good enough position by the time you get started, if you didn't do it in your early 20s, you're starting at a hell of a deficit, but it gets worse. It gets worse. Because I was being nice by showing you this. I was being nice by showing you this. Have any of you actually consulted a calculator to be able to go ahead and take a look and see what it says? Because I did. And just in case you think it gets better as you go on, no, it actually doesn't. As you can see here, let's just say that by the time you're 40 years old, and by the way, you go and check and see most of the black women that you know, do they even qualify with the numbers that you see on your screen here? I'll make that a little bit bigger in case you're having trouble seeing it. You tell me how many black females you know who actually qualify for the numbers that you see on your screen right now. Let's just say you're 40 years old and you want to retire at the age of 67. And I'm going to spot you an income here that is more than twice what I know the actual numbers are. But let's go ahead and just say you're one of those chicks, ooh, I got me a degree, or I got me a job here or whatever. I'm a paralegal, I'm a RN, I'm an attorney, whatever the case may be here. Okay, fine, I'll spot you that. No problem. I'm head of HR, or I work as the HR person. Okay, no problem. I'll spot you that. Let's go and take a look and see what you actually got. And let's just say that you're about 40 years old. And by the way, you can fudge that number a few years on either side if you want to. We can take it back to 35 or up to 45 if you want to. But 40 is a good median. 40 is just a good median. But by the way, we can move that number younger or older if you want to. By the way. And let's just say you intend to retire by the time you're 67 years old. I'm going to give you an income of $80,000. And by the way, there's some factors in there you haven't thought of, but I'll come to that in a few moments. And let's just say you have annual retirement savings of 10% of your income. I'm going to give you 10% of your income. That whether you live in DC, Atlanta, Dallas, I'm still going to spot you that you have the ability to save 10% of your income every month. Forget tithing for the church. You're going to have 10% of your income every month. All right, fine. And let's just say that at that point, you got $50,000, which, by the way, is way more than they usually have, if they have anything at all. But you know what? Okay, fine. I'll go ahead and spot you that one. I'm going to spot you 50 grand just because I'm generous like that. I'm going to spot you 50 grand. And then we expect your income to increase. Now, 3% isn't really, that's not really going to be realistic. Usually black folk don't see much of any increase at all. Hell, it takes an act of Congress. They got a legislative raise for black folk. But instead of 3%, I'll give you 2%. I'll give you 2%. And your income requirement at retirement, now, let's be very, very clear. You really need 100% at retirement. But most financial advisors and analysts are going to tell you it needs to be at least 80%. And they're trying to hold my numbers down tonight on YouTube. They're trying to hold my numbers down tonight. I need y'all to go ahead and make sure you share this program because this is critical information that I'm condensing down. But let's just say here that I spot you 80% of your income. Remember, your income is increasing at a rate of 2% every year, right? Okay, fine. And how many years of retirement income? Let's just say that after you retire, you expect to live another 15 years. That's a median between 10 and 20. Let's just say you tend to live 15 years. All right. Well, as you can see right here, if you never went over the numbers before, this is what you end up at. This is where you end up. Yeah, you retired at 67, but your savings are going to run out by the time you're 76, because this assumes that your annual retirement expenses are $107,000, which is 80% of your final year's income. If it increased to 2% a year, you would be making $133,000. How many black women are making $133,000 a year? By the way, how many black women, after working for any amount of time, for any company, anywhere, any job, even self-employed, how many black women are making $133,000 a year? How many black women are in that $100,000 range? Less than 5%. Less than 5%. If you all want me to go ahead and give you a spoiler alert. It's not happening. It's a very nice little pipe dream, but it ain't happening. This isn't real. And if you live in New York, LA, Miami, and increasingly places like Charlotte, Nashville, cities that you ordinarily didn't used to think of before, guess what? Now they are moving into that range as well. And as you can see here, even if we give you a very generous situation here, which is well above and beyond what the average black female encounters in her life or has been able to do in her life here, even if we're very generous, this is where you end up at. You're going to run out of time. You're going to run out of money before you run out of time. And if you're telling yourself that you're going to be able to cut back on your expenses and whatnot, no, that's not going to be true either. We're going to get into that in a few moments here. But let's just say that you want to try to argue with this. Well, Jason, I can make that work. There are factors you haven't considered, like, for example, a lot of you are single moms. And because of that, you have grossly underestimated what your tax liability is going to be once those kids are no longer there. You see, there's a lot of tripwires you hadn't considered, and women who are single parents and think that they can fund their own retirement, they're going to hit sticker shock because all those government handouts you get, like the child tax credit and earned income tax credit, those all go away when the kids are grown and gone. Hell, they go away when the kids are 18. And if you make more, understand something, if you make more than $50,000 a year, and you've been sitting up here getting child tax credits and stuff and talking about how great that is, if you make $50,000 a year or more, if you start at the point you make $50,000 a year, you got to pay 22% in taxes. Guess what? You ain't getting a tax refund anymore. You're paying a tax bill. You immediately went from having a tax refund to having a tax bill. Chicks don't know what to do. And if you make $87,000 a year or more, to the females talking about, don't worry, I'm going to make this right here. If you haven't taken a look at the tax brackets lately, if you're a single person making $87,000 a year or more, you have to pay 24% in taxes. You're in the 24% tax bracket. You notice I never hear these kinds of conversations when folks are sitting around neck jerking and talking about how great they can do and they're strong and independent, they can do it for themselves and talk about their careers and stuff. I never hear them talk about the tax brackets. I've never heard this conversation before. This is the only place you all are going to hear somebody mention, by the way, what about the tax brackets? There's a reason that you can't hit these numbers. You can't hit these numbers by yourself because you've been used to them spotting you off of other taxpayers because you sat up here and blew out some children. Well, once you lose that, you're going to have to come back in and start paying in to come balance that out. That's assuming you can. Because there is an out clause. There is a way to avoid this. Stay broke. Yeah, there is an out. There is an exit clause. And that clause is to stay broke. Because if you attempt to even come up to this modest level, and by the way, this ain't really that great. You coming up to this modest level, this is 80,000 is very much working class in New York, DC, Atlanta, Miami, Dallas, Houston, hell, even Detroit, Minneapolis, Chicago, Boston. This is working class. This ain't ballin'. 80,000 ain't ballin'. That's working class. And in many of the places I just named, 100,000 is working class. And you're in the 24% tax bracket. Talking about what you're going to do on your own. If the math is hurting your feelings, if this is being very hard on you right now, I am attempting to warn you. I'm attempting to try to warn you about what's waiting for you. Because this isn't about who can run their damn mouth the most. And this isn't about who can be the sassiest, who can be the most defiant, who can sit up here and expel their daddy issues. This is about who is going to have the easiest life. This is about who is going to be able to take it easy. This is about who's going to be able to enjoy their years. This isn't about who can fill out a job application. Too many of you are under the phony, false impression that being able to fill out a job application equals wealth. No, it doesn't. It never has, and it never will. You've been suckered into a trick bag. The key to being able to retire comfortably is whether or not you have a man. That is it. Do you have a man who is a producer? Do you have a man who gets up in the morning with no prodding, no poking, no suggesting from you, and he's getting out here and conquering this world and making sure that you have a cushion? Do you have that? Because your job, your degree, your stubbornness, your ego, that ain't gonna break this system. That is not going to break this system. Let me go ahead and tell y'all a little bit of something that I know here. Think about this for a few moments. All these chicks who want to tell you about their careers, where they're at, their careers, they want to tell you about that. They want to tell you about what they're doing. I want to ask you a question here for the folks out there talking about, oh, she's a doctor, she's a nurse, she's a lawyer, she's a paralegal, she's a receptionist, she's a pharmacist, she's this and that. Let me ask you a question. How many 70-year-old nurses have you seen working at these hospitals? Mic drop. Let me ask you about that. No, let's cut through the bull jive. When was the last time you went into a hospital and there was a 70-year-old nurse on duty? A 65-year-old nurse on duty? Anywhere. Show me. I got nurses listening to me right now. You tell me how many times you got a 70-year-old on duty at your hospital. How many times have you seen a 70-year-old female doctor, a 70-year-old female lawyer, a 70-year-old paralegal, hell, even a 70-year-old social worker, a 70-year-old teacher? You can pick one or two, but you ain't gonna be able to name off enough of them to say that they constitute an entire retirement strata. Get the hell out of here. You can talk silly and stupid on the internet. You can talk silly and stupid in front of the men. You can talk silly and stupid in front of the world. You're not going to be able to talk silly and stupid in front of the bank or the government. You either got it or you don't. You're either able to do this or you're not. And the bottom line is, in your day-to-day lives right now, if you were wondering where in the world the numbers actually came out at, and did it actually do what we said, we see where why the numbers are where they are. Up until now, everybody makes the joke about all the little old ladies having to go get a job as a Walmart greeter. Let's be very, very clear. That's a place that will take you in that capacity. I don't give a damn how willing to do it you are. You can't be a 70-year-old social worker running around to people's houses, a 70-year-old nurse on the floor. You can't be a 70-year-old receptionist like that. You're not going to be able to do that. I don't care how stubborn you are. You're not really going to be able to do that. The ones who do, the game is all the way over. That ain't nothing but misery. Because you're not there because you want to be. You're there because you must be. You must. What I am saying to you all right now is that being a difficult female, being a difficult woman, being hard-headed, being stubborn, being a disciplinary problem, this ends in disaster. I want to ask you a question right now. If I wanted to destroy your life, how would I do it? The author John Steinbeck once said that if I wanted to destroy a nation, I would give it too much for too long, and I would bring it to its knees. Well, if I wanted to destroy your life as a female, if I wanted to do something to you diabolical and evil, what would I do? I want to ask the women a question before I do that. And I know I'm asking a few questions here, but ladies, this will dovetail nicely here off why it is that men tend to jump out of windows when their financial situation hits a certain depth. The men tend to actually get really depressed and really bad about that. What is it that the men know that you don't? What is it the men realize that you don't? The women usually realize it later until it's much too late. But the men understand something. But women, if I wanted to destroy your life without laying a hand on you, how would I do it? I'll tell you how I do it. If I wanted to destroy your life, I would wave my magic wand. I would make you about 35 or 40 years old. I would give you little to no savings, a revolving door of debt, student loan debt, because you keep having to go back and get new skills to try to keep up with the job and keep up with income for the ever-rising cost of living where you are. But I'd give you no savings, a revolving door of debt, student loan debt, auto debt, consumer credit debt, no emotional discipline, a habit of living beyond your means, a defiant, stubborn attitude that ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. And then, just for good measure, let's drop 2 or 3 kids on you. And an entire mortgage. Just for good measure. I'm gonna sprinkle you. Just for good measure. And for that mortgage, I'm gonna be nice to you now. This is me being nice. I'm gonna price that mortgage at a modest $250,000. Even though we all know it's going to be much more. But I'm going to be real nice and tell you that you can find a house in a decent neighborhood where the drive-bys only happen once a week as opposed to every day. We're going to find you a house for $250,000 in the year 2022. By the way, if you want to know how silly that is, just go looking for one. That's what I would do to you. And most of all, on top of everything else I said, make you 35 or 40 years old, give you little to no savings, a revolving door of debt, no emotional discipline, living beyond your means, a difficult, rebellious attitude, 2 or 3 kids, an entire mortgage of $250,000 or more at the age of 35 or 40, and most of all, no man of any significance or means to be able to help you shoulder this burden. Well, we don't have to wonder anymore about how this would turn out. We don't have to wonder anymore about where this would go. We don't have to pontificate or estimate or gaze into the stars and hope for the best to figure out where it will go. This is where it ends up. This is where it is. And this is how her world ends. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. If I wanted to destroy your life as a female, I would put all of these burdens of the world on you, and I would strip you of a man. I would force you to get out here and attempt to handle all of these challenges by yourself. I would keep giving you bad information because since you don't have a man to actually be your protector and provider, you're going to try to do it on your own, which means you're going to listen to the very system that sees you as a mule of servitude. And they're just going to tell you the best way to be able to serve them, not the best way to be able to serve yourself. And there are so many lies that you will get told, but in the end, it doesn't really work out. You know why? Because I'm just telling you right now, I know a lot of professional females. I know a bunch of them in their 30s and 40s and older. I know a bunch of black women who are doctors, nurses, attorneys, professors, human resources managers, accountants, and all of them, all, A-L-L, all are in huge amounts of debt. Oh, except for the accountants. Well, except for a couple of the accountants. But as for the others, they're all in huge amounts of debt. Their age is not really an issue. It doesn't matter. They went into these things with the promise that this was going to be what was going to guide them through. I don't need a man. The hell you don't. Yes, you do. You damn sure do. Especially if you got kids. Being a single parent is essentially the same thing as having all the penalties of getting divorced dropped on your ass without having any of the benefits of being married. So yes, you do. There are several lies that get bandied about. And too many women get roped off into grasping onto coping mechanisms. They grab children, they grab pets, they can't grab house plants, they grab a job. And then to try to get a bailout, the next thing they do is, oh, well, I'll go buy me a home. Well, why are you doing that? Well, the white man down there at the bank told me that getting a home was the same as being able to have an investment. Let me tell you something, ladies, a house is not an investment. It isn't. A house is not an investment. For your parents and your grandparents, back when they could buy a house for $50,000 or even $100,000, that could be an investment. Today, it isn't. They're too damn expensive. Relative to your income, they are too damn expensive. The only thing you can buy a house for is to live in. But it doesn't effectively gain any value. And if you have to start paying on that house when you are in your damn 40s, if you're in your 30s or 40s taking out a 30-year mortgage, that house is essentially it's gonna be like rent. You'll never reach a point where the house is actually an investment. And even if it did gain equity, what are you gonna do? Sell the house? Where you gonna live? This is why it doesn't work. A house can only be an investment if you sell it, but if you sell it, you can't live in it anymore. And guess what? The subprime crisis, I'm going to hurt a lot of feelings tonight when I say this. The subprime crisis was powered primarily by black women. The subprime crisis was primarily a crisis of black women. PBS Frontline once again. Money, Power, and Wall Street. Historic documentary by Martin Smith on PBS Frontline. You can go look it up. Money, Power, and Wall Street, where they go into detail about how it is that black women, and they went down there to Atlanta, Georgia. They went down to the suburbs of Georgia. This was a crisis of black women believing, well, let me get a house so I ain't got to live with my nagging ass mama. I can do better than her. And the banks, like vultures, saw you coming. They saw all the character flaws. They capitalized on it. And they knew that you did not have a man. So they knew you were a sitting duck. The subprime crisis was primarily a crisis of black women. And guess what? The pandemic, the virus pandemic, that has been a crisis primarily of black women too when it comes to the workforce. When you take a look at who was laid off, when you take a look at who lost their jobs, when you take a look at what the jobs were, retail service, customer service, hospitals, when you take a look at who it was primarily jobs that black women frequent. Government, schools, which is government again. But yes, your schools, your service jobs, retail, customer service. This was primarily black women suffering for it there. Primarily black women taking it on the chin. And you think this is going to happen? You think you can get there? No. Life is what happens while you're making plans. Your contingency plan isn't going to be a degree, and it isn't going to be a job, and it isn't going to be going back to school for another degree so you can get another job. Your contingency plan is always going to be the same thing that it has been through time. It's gonna be a man who will produce and be your workhorse for you. That's plan B. That's the fallback position. In reality, that's the primary position, and you're the fallback. Your job is not supposed to carry the damn thing. He's the one who's the man with the plan. He is the one who is the workhorse. He is the one who is going to put in all those hours. He is the one who's going to keep making sure it gets up. He is the one who's going to get up every single day and trudge through the monotony. He is the one who's going to be able to take on the psychological burdens of it all. He is the one who's going to be able to do that. He is the one who's going to figure out how to double the income. He is the one who's going to come up with those answers, and that's not me saying it. These are the numbers saying it. These are the numbers. When you take a look at the numbers, you can see that black men are right up there. They're competitive with Hispanic men and even white women. We're competitive with all of them. The men as a group, the numbers show this. I brought you all of the data and analysis in a compact package for you to take a look at tonight. This isn't somebody sitting up here talking out of their ears at you. The men are producing. The men are getting the results. The females, this is a hell of a spot to be in. And the answer, all these articles that you keep reading, and all these people you keep listening to here, and all these things they keep printing, and they keep talking this garbage about black girl magic, and they sit around these little old circles where they try to comfort each other in their failure. This is bull crap. You're not going to be able to outwork the system of capitalism on your own. You need to have backup so you can double team this thing. The only key to a woman being able to stop working is the man she is with. The only way that a female will not have to work for the rest of her life is she is going to have to convince a man to become her protector and provider. The females who will work endlessly, the females who will spin their wheels endlessly, the females who will suffer are the females who fail to get a man to take them under management. Let me go ahead and list for you what that looks like. Now, what I said here before was probably kind of hurtful to you here. What I'm about to say next is going to be downright painful, but it is what it is. First of all, let's be very, very clear about who's going to have to work. The ugly women are going to have to work. I said it. They're probably going to try to go after my channel for this one right here. Please, y'all go ahead and share this and like this real quick before YouTube comes and takes it down. And no, I'm leaving this on YouTube tonight. Yes, I took the one down last night because there was some sensitive material in it. This one here is going to stay right here. Ladies, if you are ugly, you're going to have to work. If you are an ugly black female, you will have to work till you die. Because you are not going to convince anybody to go in with you. Because a man who's going to go out here and make himself the best version of himself, put up with all the slings and arrows, take all the abuse, sit up here and overachieve in a system that is rigged against him, that man isn't going to sit up here and become above average so he can sit up here and lay next to a hound dog. It's not going to be happening right here. Your friends who told you that you could be as ridiculous as you want to be, you can be as unattractive as you wish to be, and he needs to just sit there and take that. Just understand this is a punishment that only smacks you. If you want a man who is the best version of himself, you must present yourself to him as the best version of yourself. But coming out here looking like a worn out mop and then thinking that there's going to be a man who's going to break his back and conquer the world for you, let me tell you, that's a pipe dream. Stop the fantasy. Stop the cap. Stop the fantasy. But let's be very, very clear. Most black women will have to work until they die. And if you are an ugly woman, you're one of them. I said it. Next up, fat women will have to work till they die. That's right, I am doing every offensive thing I possibly could here tonight. Somebody needs to tell you the damn truth. And right now, that is 70% of the black female population. What do you know? That kind of dovetails with the single rates too, doesn't it? But just understand, a man is going to be looking for cues that you are qualified to be able to take care of his legacy, his progeny, his offspring. And he is not going to sit up here and have an above average life with an above average car, an above average house, and above average means, and then have some substandard female flopping on top of him like one man gang. That's not what's going to happen. And what you are seeing through the numbers is that the men are saying, yeah, you know what, forget that. Understand something. We'll just leave them to their own devices. A fat female trying to navigate this world on her own, left to her own devices. No, ma'am, you will have to work till you die. And when you take a look at your cafeteria workers at your school, when you take a look at the nurses at your hospital, when you take a look at even the lawyers and paralegals, when you take a look at the females working at customer service, go to Walmart. Get on the phone. You can hear the size 16 when she picks it up. My name is Shanika. Can I help you today? Those are women who the men abandoned them and said, you're on your own. Many of them having children, no means. But you see, when you are uncoachable and unconcerned, there are going to be consequences for that. I had a young female last night. She is literally a size 18, was arguing with me that she was an 8. I had to inform her. She said, all I need is a little work. I had to inform her, ma'am, there's no such thing as an 8 who needs a little work. So you sit around with other failed females who sit up here and try to cheer you up and egg you on. Everything's all right. No, everything is terrible. Where's the man who is setting up the infrastructure to take the burden off of you? No. When I talk about black women who have to work until they die, yeah, the ugly ones, the fat ones, yes, because there is no man of any means or significance or resources who is going to partner with you. This is brutal reality. He has to be incentivized. You'll sit up here and go out of your damn way. You'll bend over backwards, forwards, or any other direction for these white corporations who will sit up here and tell you to do anything. I tell y'all all right now, if it was a white man telling them to drop down to a size 6, we would see the gyms overflow tomorrow. It would look like the folks standing outside the Gucci store. It looked like them lined up for tickets for Beyonce. And they're not going to take care of you. The job's not going to take care of you. The black man is the only thing that's going to take care of you, period, end of discussion. But if you are not worthy of being taken care of, then you will be left to hang on your own. Next up, difficult women have to work. You are a disciplinary problem. You are mouthy. You are sassy. You are not coachable. You're constantly making problems. That's one thing when you do it between the ages of 18 and 23. You can get away with that to an extent. Men will just kind of shake that off. But once you get in your late 20s and you are still carrying on that 18 to 22-year-old defiant, troublesome behavior. No, you're looking for a man who's going to invest in you? No. All you're going to have are various dudes who will tolerate you long enough to lay on top of you. And just understand, every time that a female allows men to lay on top of her when she knows, all it is just sex. Just understand, when a female devalues herself and her being down to the level of it's just sex, getting my itches scratched, I have needs or whatever. When you devalue yourself to that level, just understand you have destroyed yourself. A female who is separated from her emotional sensitivity is no longer a female. She's a pet rock. These are the things that make you what you are. When you go into a relationship, the only thing that you bring to a man is yourself. That is all you bring. He doesn't get your resources. He doesn't get your productivity. He doesn't get your protection and provision. He gets you. And if you are ugly, if you are fat, if you are difficult, hard-headed, stubborn, constantly throwing up obstacles in the way, you're unappreciative and ungrateful, then just understand you will also find yourself also alone in an environment that is going to grind you into talcum powder. It is what it is, and you will work till you die. If I wanted to destroy you, I would make you fat, ugly, hard-headed, difficult, ignorant, ridiculous to deal with, intolerable, and then I would leave you here. Next up, old women have to work. You damn right. Gonna hurt a lot of damn feelings right here, but you damn right. There's a reason why they're trying to take it by hook or by crook. There is a reason why when the man was sitting up here talking about what they needed to do, if you're a woman whose savings aren't together, can we help you through bankruptcy? Yeah, well, the suggestions keep coming back here. Where's your man? Did you have a man? What about divorce? Did you die? Can we find out about retirement savings? Were you with a man? Where's that man at? Because once you get to a certain point, ladies, you don't have, when you were young and spry and you were really just beating up the streets with your sensuality here, you had an extra benefit. You had extra capacity that you could use to leverage. Once you get past a certain point, you don't have any of those things to leverage anymore. This is insanity. This debutante syndrome where you tell yourself, one of the worst phrases ever is black don't crack, because it's been abused by females who ain't cracked, they broke and shattered. But they don't want to face the reality of it. So what they do is they dumb down a producer and say, well, as long as I can get sexual attention, I can translate that into tangible benefits. And you can do that when you are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. At those ages, yeah, men are offering sex and resources, sex and tangible, sex and physical benefits, sex and taking care of you. That's what they're offering you when you're in your prime. Yeah, that's what you're being offered in your prime. Baby, once you hit the late 20s and 30s, God forbid if you have some bastard kids thrown in there, that ship has sailed. They're offering you sex and occasional sex, whichever you choose. But that's what you get, and that is not a benefit to a female. A woman is supposed to be shrewd about that because she is supposed to understand this is the only real leverage I have. He doesn't need me to be his producer. If he does, he's worthless. He doesn't need me to be his protector. If a man needs you to protect him, obviously he's worthless. It is the things that you can do that he cannot. So if nobody wants to be just totally honest about this, I will be totally honest about this. At the age in life when you are able to leverage things beyond just sexuality, that's the sweet spot. When you lose that, it is over. And the primary metric of that is when you get old. And what do you mean by old? 30 or older. And I'm being generous with the 30. Because today that number is really backed up to about 25, but certainly the window has completely closed when you get to 30. And the only thing you can call on from there are the men who used to remember you when you were younger. But the bottom line is that you are not going to be able to walk into the door at the tender young age of 40, 45, 50, 55 and think that you are going to get men who are meeting you in this condition to do anything. There was a documentary, yes, now I'm going to go into this right now. For those of you who know about what they used to call the cheesecake pictures and stuff from the 50s and things like that, when they were first having women being scantily clad and things like that. How many of y'all remember Betty Page, I believe it was? Remember her? Do you remember Betty Page? If some of you comic books and stuff like that, Betty Page, Bettie Page. She was one of the famous pinup models and whatnot, and she really was one of the major catalysts that started that, what they call the cheesecake thing, or these females, scantily clad and stuff just to be salacious. Yeah, that she started that and everything, but they did a great documentary about her. She got off into drugs and a bunch of other things like that, and in the documentary, they stopped. They stopped with the pictures of her right at about middle age, a little after middle age, with a mugshot. And they didn't do that because they didn't have older pictures of her. They did it basically out of, I guess you would call it, respect or deference to her. Because they didn't want to use their platform to show people that idealized image of Betty that you had in your head, oh, that woman is gone. She's just a ragged out, run down little old lady now. That raven black hair and all the rest of that body parts sitting up and things, oh no, that's long gone. And out of, I guess, some mercy to her, they didn't put up the older pictures of her that they had, because there are older pictures of her. And what I'm saying is that at a certain point, they don't have any use anymore. And the mistake she made was that she was never really able to partner with anybody who was going to take care of her. And anybody who remembered her from the hot days wasn't willing to pay anymore. So what I'm saying here is the reason why the age is so important is because, ladies, if you squander those 20s, you're going to just be sitting up here trying to rummage back through the discount bin of men that you used to know to see if there's anybody still left who will answer the phone who has a connection to you that is not just sexual. Because you're going to realize everybody's offering sex, but yeah, I need somebody who's offering sex and resources, sex and protection, sex and elevation, sex and leisure, sex. And I'm trying to find somebody I can cash in on at that point, because your femininity is going to evaporate and die. There's a reason why in Hollywood, these women sit up here and try to stay in a relationship. They try to stay with somebody because they understand that once they lose that, that is over. But for the average woman out here, for the typical female, if you get over the age of 30 and nobody has made the offer to connect with you and say, okay, I'm going to be the person who is going to take you under management, and I'm going to be the person who's going to be protector and provider in this situation, even if they are not your husband. If this is a person who is willing to make long-term investment. By the way, Dr. John Henrik Clarke talked about that. But if this is a person who's willing to make long-term investment, that this is an individual who is not sitting up here saying, okay, well, let's see if we can do some sex and I'll think it over. No, they're approaching like that. You had that in your 20s. You'll just be relegated to rummaging back through your phone books, through your Rolodex, and hoping that something will answer. Cocaine's a hell of a drug, and arthritis is a hell of a disability. But if you are an old woman and you have burned all your bridges, you have offended all the potential producers that you could have had, because back when you were younger and more spry and you could be defiant and you could be hard-headed and you could be slick at the mouth and you were willing to suffer when you were in your 20s or 30s, now you're in your late 30s, 40s, and older, you're not willing to suffer no more, because all you're doing is looking back over a life and all you can see is an endless stream of days of work. But that vision that you were going to be able to go ahead and take it easy and sit back and actually be somebody that other females envied and wanted to be like. Other females don't want to be a working professional who stays at the job until she's dead. That isn't what females aspire to. Just go to your Instagram and just take a look around. You can go there as much as you want to. Do you see any of them sitting up here trying to figure out how they can stay at the office? No. When they are offered the opportunity to post online the kind of life they want, it ain't at a desk or a cubicle. You never saw an Instagram account with over 1 million followers where she's sitting at her desk talking about how much she loved going to the office. This is when the females are allowed to post themselves. They show up looking a certain way and doing a certain thing, but they working something all right, but it's not a desk job. That's my point. So if you squander your time, squander your opportunities, squander your chances, then guess what? You are going to end up in a situation where you have aged out. And all the fellas who used to be able to take care of you and used to be able to do things will no longer be options anymore. To the young females in their 20s listening to me right now tonight, your mama is dead ass wrong. She's been wrong. She doesn't know. They sit up here and complain about their non-black counterparts, but understand their non-black counterparts, they will sit there at the job and tell you, oh, that's right, you should go ahead and leave him. Next thing you know, they'll be sitting in his inbox. They have no problem telling you to leave the guy that they will sit up here and talk to if he's available. But most of them, if they have a man already, they'll sit up here and tell the black females at their job, go ahead and leave the guy you're with. Meanwhile, she ain't going to leave the fella she's with for nothing, and he's on meth. He's giving her the DDT. He's sleeping with half the damn block. And she's sitting there like Susie Homemaker while she's telling you, oh, you don't need a man. Oh, no, you shouldn't let anybody say that to you. I wouldn't let a man talk to me like that. Meanwhile, her fella is sitting up here talking to her like, damn me, Robert Downey Jr., Morton Downey, all those Downeys. No, if you're an old woman and you have not found somebody to invest in you, yeah, game over. Next up, oh boy. Well, I guess this would really be the equals, wouldn't it? Because the bottom line is that a woman without a man, you gotta work. The number one determinant, the number one factor that tells us whether or not you are going to be a woman who has to work until you die is if you are with a man. Do you have a man? If you don't, you will have to work until you die. You know the reason why? The reason why is because women do not get cheaper as they get older. The reality is that women get more expensive as they get older. So all these financial planners telling you about how you can cut back on your spending and whatnot, that's a damn lie. Women get more expensive as they get older. Ask any man who has ever had a divorce. You've been married to her 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Ask any man who's had a divorce if that woman got cheaper as she got older. Now, I don't want to listen to the females talking to somebody with a website. To the fellas in here, if I got any fellas in here who are divorcees, was your woman cheaper when you divorced her? Or was she more expensive by the time you divorced her? You tell me. Was she cheaper when you divorced her, or was she more expensive when you divorced her? Let's talk to the men about what they actually have to live with and what they've actually had to deal with and what they've actually had to finance. I can tell you right now, that's exactly what you'll be dealing with. The fellas right now are complaining because they're like, we'll be damned, the females who are middle-aged are more demanding than the 20-year-olds are. The chicks who are in their 20s ain't really talking about, I want to travel and take vacations. The females in their 20s don't talk like that. The females in their 30s, 40s, and 50s are the ones talking about, oh, I want to travel and go to Turks and Caicos and go on vacation and go to Hawaii and go to 5-star resorts, and I want to go shopping at Neiman Marcus and Tiffany's. I want to buy a Mercedes and, can you get a Maybach? The females are the ones doing that in their 40s and 50s or older. You think they get cheaper as they get older? Take a look at Vivica Fox, Lisa Ray, Nia Long, Halle Berry. Women do not get cheaper as they get older. They get more expensive as they get older. A 20-year-old female don't even know what a Maybach is. A 20-year-old female doesn't even know what a Range Rover is. She doesn't know the Evoque or the Velar. She doesn't know anything about that. By the time they get in their 30s and 40s, they done did some research. They know the difference between the GLA, the GLC, the GLS. They've had a chance to actually figure it out, and they got demands. But none of that really works. Because if you talk to the average female who is over the age of 35, the kind of life that she really wants to live, it is mathematically impossible to do that yourself. And that is the part that is going to grind you into powder. That is the part that's going to grind you into powder. Just understand that. I did tonight's program because I wanted us to have a sobering discussion about exactly where we are and what you can expect. And why it is that's sad to say, Black women as a group, and I wanted to talk to black women specifically tonight, Black women as a group will have to work until they die because they have become devoid, unfortunately, as a group. They have become devoid of the necessary character traits to be able to make them a viable mate to a man. Because a man is going to be the single biggest factor in determining what kind of life you are going to have and whether it is going to be worth a damn, no matter what you might tell yourself. The man that you are with or do not have is going to be the single biggest factor in it. And you got folk telling you that a degree can circumvent that you can circumvent math. Well, get this type of degree or get this type of job or go to this type of place. And the first thing I got to ask you is, where the hell you going? Where the hell do you think you're gonna go? I covered this last night, by the way. This is data here compiled from the census by GoBankingRates.com. And you can take a look and see what the median income and the top 10% income. So these females who get more expensive as they get older, because that Mercedes, they're like the old black folks. The old black folks, for them, when they got older, that's why you go to church and every old black person you saw had a Cadillac. And now all the older black folk got a Mercedes or a BMW. The younger females, they don't let that go. If they never had it, they don't ever stop wanting it. Yeah, well, guess what? Even if you're at the bottom of the damn list in West Virginia, the median income is $48,000. But to be in the top 10%, even in West Virginia, is $163. Let's talk about where black folk are. Mississippi, median income is $45,000, but the top 10% is $169. Alabama, not a whole lot different. My home state of Louisiana, $51,000. But the top 10% is $190,000, so it's even well above Alabama and Mississippi. If you want to go the Midwest, you could talk about Oklahoma or Kansas. But the top 10% there is between $192,000 in Oklahoma, $200,000 in Kansas. In the Carolinas, North Carolina, median income, all those places in North Carolina that are blowing up, Charlotte, Fayetteville, Goldsboro, you get the idea. $57,000 is the median income. $204,000 is the top 10%, not the top 1%, the top 10%. The folks who can actually afford that lifestyle that you're talking about. Take a look at how high the median income is. And you trying to thrill somebody talking about you make $70,000 or $80,000 a year. You're just above median income. And I ain't even really got to the real peachy states yet. Take a look at my old stomping grounds, Texas. Median income, $64,000. Top 10%, $228,000. And that is only going to skyrocket with the huge influx of people from California, New York, and all the other states seeking, they can't go to Florida, but seeking a place where they can get a big plot of land and a house, space that they never had before, and a lot fewer regulations. That's Texas. You talk about Atlanta. In Georgia, median income is $61,000. Top 10% is $222,000. Who you fooling? When you say you're going to do this without a man, who the hell are you fooling? In Florida, everybody wants to flock down to Miami. Everybody wants to go to the beaches. Median income is $59,000. So, hell, you're competing against the damn Disney World workers now. And the top 10% is $217,000. Chicago, Illinois is $69,000 median income, but the top 10% is $245,000. Colorado, go blaze your weed up. But the median income is $77,000. That's the median. Virginia, not talking about DC, Virginia is $76,000 median income. But the top 10% is $265,000. That's Norfolk, Richmond. And of course, you got to go through the heavy hitters. New York, public enemy number one. Median income, $72,000. This is New York State, not New York City. New York State. Even if you go out into the suburbs, Westchester, Rochester, Albany, Spring Valley. Yeah, we're talking about even the places where black folk out in the hood or whatever. $72,000 is the median income. And the top 10% is $291,000. State of California, $80,000 median income. Oh, I thought you was going to kill the game. I thought you were going to kill the game. I thought you were going to be all right making $80,000 or $90,000 or $100,000. I thought you were going to be able to take care of this on your own. You're looking really worried over there right now. You might want to take some more Motrin or Excedrin or whatever for your muscle pains. You're going to be out here for a minute. You're going to be out here for a minute. Way longer than you told yourself you were going to be. You're going to have to. Top 10% in California is $295,000. You already know that's a damn financial wasteland. New Jersey, just in case you thought you could get away from New York, guess what? New Jersey is even more expensive. Median income in New Jersey state is $85,000, even more than New York. And then, of course, D.C., the District of Columbia now. Now, that's solidly black, isn't it? District of Columbia is solidly black. Median income beats them all. $92,000. And to be in the top 10% in D.C., $361,000. More than New York, more than California, more than Massachusetts, more than Connecticut. The places where you are solidly black, the places where they brag about being at the most. This isn't supposition, these are the numbers. And you're telling me that you're going to be able to hump these numbers at 45, 50, 60? You're going to still have it in you to be able to get out here and be a gladiator in this arena? You still going to be just as hungry to go at it? Mentally and emotionally, it is going to strip mine you. As a matter of fact, for most of you, it already has. For most of you, it already has. What I'm saying is, can we stop the bull jive? Can we stop the crap and actually deal with some reality for a change? Because like it or not, want it or not, accept it or not, you cannot fight the numbers. You are either going to have a man who is going to be protector and provider, or you are going to work until you break down and die. That's not me talking. That's not storytelling. This is math. That's why I did this program last night and tonight. But enough from me. Maybe I'm wrong. Therefore, the telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the program that laid the foundation upon which all of these red pill, MGTOW, high-value posers, alpha male frauds, and all the rest of their kind are going to be trying to rip this off next week. We gave you the definitive breakdown of the numbers here tonight. It's going to be important. I want you to go ahead and share this program. For those of you who've never heard these before, by the way, you saw that sources were cited. And this is very, very important because we don't need any more people making up numbers, making up figures to try to bolster some point. I want to put it exactly where it is. It's not a situation where you're 50,000 miles out. It's a situation here where these things are out of reach, but you are grossly miscalculating how far out of reach it is. And you're telling yourself it's a lot closer than it really is. And it's not. It's not. We are witnessing an epidemic of broken psyches is what we're witnessing. We are witnessing an epidemic of individuals who have been completely cracked and shattered is what we're witnessing. And as they are getting older, they are homing in on the reality that they will never be able to retire. They will have to work until they die. Let me tell you, the only women who are still working right now over the age of 40 are the ones who don't actually believe they're going to have to do it. They don't actually believe it. They're going to find out the hard way, whether you believe it or whether you don't. Yeah, you are actually going to have to do it. You will. And the single biggest determining factor in whether or not this is going to be your fate is your ability or your failure to get a man who is going to agree to be your ally, who is going to agree to be your workhorse, who's going to agree to keep going out there every day until he drops. Because that is the natural order of things. You are not going to want to do that. You will not be able to do that. That is not going to be your place, and you are not going to be able to stand doing that. Ladies, I'm telling you this because it doesn't work. And to the females who are in their early 20s, this might sound harsh, and I know it runs completely contrary to what your mammy told you, but there's a reason why we're telling you this. The reason I'm telling you this is because this is what will determine whether or not you end out ahead or whether you don't. There's a bunch of females today telling you about they got their degree and they got this, that job and the other, baby. Do you all know how many females I know who make more than $75,000, $85,000 a year, $95,000 a year and are swimming in debt? They become institutionalized at these jobs. They become institutionalized because there was no man to tell them, hey, you're spending too much. Any man who did, they say, I'm going to get rid of him. Well, you had the power to get rid of him, but you don't have the power to make the banks honor your silliness. And this student loan debt, they're talking about getting rid of student loan debt. Understand something. All that does is get rid of the student loan debt. The problem isn't the student loan debt. The problem is that you don't make enough money to be able to swim. All you're doing is making enough money to tread water. Making it from month to month. Eventually, you need to sit down and say, you know what is going to be the best result of what I'm doing? And by the time you do decide that you are willing to let go of your hubris and your avarice and your stubbornness, by the time you decide to do that, your best options, any options, are long gone. Then the bitterness sets in. Then the anger sets in. Then the hatred sets in. Then the it's his fault sets in. Then the if he had done things differently sets in. And then eventually you start to lose touch with reality and you just become a mammy, this androgynous being, a drone. You get up, you go to work, you go home. Kids, work, repeat. Kids, work, repeat. And that's the end of you. You had no man. You had no options. Now, you just work until you die. Don't ask where the destination is. This is the destination. You just work till you die. We're going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines here now. I suggest you call in early. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Numbers on your screen. Go ahead and give us a call here tonight. Let me get caller from area code 216. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason Black. This is Mr. Chris from Cleveland. How you doing?
Chris from Cleveland. What's on your mind?
The reason I was calling is because everything you said is spot on. And, you know, one of these women, they're so damn hard-headed. 5 years ago, I dated, and she, for her age, she looked nice. Now, she was around 58. And she was already talking about, well, I'm going to retire at 62. Now, as I was holding in my laughter when she said that, I said, well, do you have a plan? Have you like do a worksheet on what you're going to have when you retire at 62? She was like, it don't matter what I have. I'm just going to retire. I said, you think you're going to retire, but that's not how it works. And Clearly, she was a good-looking woman for her age, but I knew something was up because a woman that nice-looking but that old and still available, yeah, she's got issues. There's some underlying issues, and clearly she has zero substance. I always get back to that. So these women out here, they got to understand, we are the ones, we are the men. You know, those guys, the nerds, the geeks, the nice guys, we're the ones making the money now. We're the ones that have our futures, and they're going to end up 70 years old working, and they're only going to have themselves to blame. But also, you know what also started this crap? The wait and exhale generation. All those, the same broads that would think that waiting to exhale was so cool, and girl, you go girl, and the
well, what they found out was Oprah Winfrey and that crew, that media apparatus that the dominant society created around that. What it did was it created a social circle that was able to comfort them and nurture them in a self-destructive habit. Because you got to understand, the white supremacist society don't give a damn what happens to black women. As far as they're concerned, y'all niggas, and we're here to use you to work until all of you drop. And we want to coerce you into a situation where we know it's a trap and it never gets better, which is why you take a look at student loan debt. It's a trap that never gets better. Going back to the point that you made about retirement, you said you were having consternation because you were like, okay, she's talking about this in abstract terms, but very clearly she hasn't thought this through. And the difference between men and women in this regard is that women take a look at the monthly payment on a car. Men take a look at the final price, the out the door price. We don't take a look at the monthly payment. We want to know, okay, how much is this car? How much are you going to try to charge me this car? Because I want to know, are you charging me what it's worth, or have you figured out a way? It's like, let me charge you way more than it's worth, but you keep your eye on eating this elephant one spoonful at a time. That's what tends to happen to them. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 470. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Joe calling from Nashville.
Joe from Nashville. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, Jason? Once again, spot on. I just wanted to add to it. One, I will say this. I was deeply offended by the young lady who called in yesterday saying she was an 8, by the way you described her. It really, as hard as his brothers worked, if that's an 8, I'm like, what do we deserve? What are we working this hard for? So I'll just throw that out there. The other thing I wanted to say is that in all my years, every single girlfriend that I've had, pharmacist, business professional, lawyer, every single one of them, once they got to around 27, were like, I don't want to work anymore. I hate this. Every last one of them. All that boss bae, yeah, girl, I'm making this. Student loan debt, $80,000, $90,000. And they're like, look, I'm done. This is too competitive. I hate getting up every day. I'm talking about crying getting out of bed. So that's something else I want to mention. And the last thing I'll say this.
How old are you?
When I was 38.
Okay.
Well, so yeah, I just had a birthday. I'm 39 now.
Okay. Well, so you're hearing the same things I've heard and the cats before me. What you just said is a refrain that is very, very common. I don't want to work. I hate having to get up to go to work. I hate having... As men, you realize the reason why he's bringing this up, everyone, is because that's a phrase that men don't really use. We don't use phrases like, I hate going to work, unless like teenagers, okay. But once we get past the age of 2021, we're like, okay, we got something to build. We got to do, especially once you get past the age of 30. With females, it starts there and it ends there. Social media is a shrine to females complaining about what they don't want to do. And what you just said there, yes, that is a constant mantra that we consistently hear no matter where you are. I hate getting up. I hate going to work. I hate commuting. I hate this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. They were the ones who fought to get the job. It reminds you of marriage. They fight to get into marriage. They're the ones who pressure you and coerce you into getting the marriage. 80% of marriages are the result of the women pressuring the man to marry them. And guess who files 80% of the divorces? So you're the one who was the primary catalyst in pushing for the marriage. You're also the primary catalyst in dissolving the marriage. They're the primary catalyst in getting into the workforce, and then they become the primary catalyst in exiting it. At some point, we have to accept that this isn't really what you want. You're fighting for something you don't even really want. But when a person fights vigorously for something that they don't actually want, this can only end one way: self-destruction. I'll let you have the last word.
And I'll leave you with, I'll leave you with this, Jason. This is for the young brothers out there, not to discourage themselves. When I was a college student in Atlanta, I never forget this. This was a couple girls. One in particular, I really wanted to date really bad, and she would never talk to me. She would always kind of, I don't really like the college boys. I'm like, you're in college. I see her at Lenox Mall one day, and she's with this dude who's a big dude, just like he got out of prison, right? I'm like, man. All right, and I'm a nerd. I'm, whatever. Good-looking kid, but I'm a nerd. Like, tell you what, 8 years passed. I see her. I see her. I mean, she's begging me for a date. True story. And I'm looking at her like, have a good day. And so that's just a lesson for the ladies out here. You want to do what you want to do when you're, 19, 20, 21 years old. But those same guys, we start hitting the gym. We started making, good money or whatever. The same guy may not give you a chance when you try to double back. So that's my last word right there. Be one.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Please do give us a call again. Let me get caller from area code 901. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
The Business. This is a big site. I'm calling from Memphis, Tennessee. This is actually my first time coming across the show. I'm in traffic right now, so I'm like, man, this brother got it together, man. Let me call in on the show and give my 2 cents. But you're absolutely right, man. A lot of women don't have any awareness, man. They're not aware of what's coming. You know what I mean? And a lot of them, they do. They work till they die, man. I know a few women that passed up on me, and I'm married now, got a great wife, and those women are still single. It's like 3 of them. and they just hate it. They go to work and they come home. It's just like, like you said, it's just repetition for them, and they hate it. They hate their life, man. They alone,
Well, you make choices, and those choices are either going to turn out well for you or they're going to turn out disastrously for you. And right now they've got a culture of, sitting around comforting each other, and it's all great when you're around yourselves and around the girls who are in an equal boat with you. But the real problem is everybody wants to get out. That's the real issue of it. They don't want to admit, by the way, they're all looking for an exit. And if they be honest about that, then they can start having an honest discussion about what you need to do to exit it. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 213. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, I'm Crystal from La Mirada, California.
Okay, Crystal from where?
From La Mirada, California.
All right, Crystal from La Mirada, what's on your mind?
Well, I was calling you because I just wanted to thank you for your broadcast, and I appreciate your information because it's really relevant and very true, what you're saying. And I have been going through some issues with, like, my husband. We've been married for more like 8 years, and the other day he came and told me that he doesn't know where we're going to stay, like me and the kids right now. And I really I was upset. I was like blowing up and everything. And my sister was telling me to just leave your husband, just leave him. And I didn't think that was sense, because I was like, I would be like a single mom with like 2 kids. And she told me, well, she did it, but I see her struggling. And I was just trying to tell her that what I've been learning from like your broadcast is that, it's not really all that easy out here being a single mother, and that I should look at myself and see what it is about me that got me to this, this point of my life.
Okay, you're asking what it is about you that got you to this point?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would like to take a look into that, actually. Can you stay on hold for me here? I would actually like to take a look into that.
Okay.
Just stay on the line for me. I want to do a couple more calls because I actually want to deal with this one. This is going to be a little bit longer in form on that one. But I do want to talk to you here, Crystal. Let me get called from area code 410. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Eric from DC.
Eric from DC. What's on your mind? Okay, Eric has been abducted. Call from area code 770. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
770, that's me. Wow. Clarissa from Kennesaw, Georgia.
Okay, first of all, she's slow, and second of all, she's on a scratchy-ass kazoo phone.
I'm not. I'm on an iPhone. Sorry, I had you on speaker.
Okay.
No, I was just calling to
your
say that
kazoo phone is hell.
Totally
anyway, what is your name and where are you calling from?
Sorry, is this better? Clarissa from Kennesaw, Georgia.
Okay, Clarissa from Kennesaw. And how old are you, Clarissa?
I'm 46.
Okay, Clarissa from Kennesaw, what's on your mind?
No, I just want to say that you're totally right, and I'm glad that you're spreading the word, and hopefully younger women will, listen to it and change their tune.
And are you in that situation?
Yeah, I'm single, but I don't think it's not single because I can't get a man or anything. I haven't put myself out there. I've been without a man for a while, and I am, still working at 46. I don't see any end to that, really. So yeah, I think I'm in that kind of position.
Okay.
But I'm not one of those women that you say that are, that have an attitude or can't get along
That's
with
what
a man.
that's what you say. I'm sure you don't think you have an attitude. Then again, most people never do. Let me just find out one thing here, Clarissa. Do you have any kids?
No.
You have no children at all?
No.
You're in your 40s and you have no children?
No children.
Now, how in the world did you make it 3.5 decades and no man saw fit to make you a wife? How did you make it this far? Because that's usually a great big parade of warning flags.
Wow. I mean, all the men that I've been with, you mention marriage and they run away.
Okay, men only, first of all, the men are supposed to be asking you for marriage, so if you have to mention it, that's the first problem.
Right.
But second of all, if you're mentioning marriage and the men are like, I'm good, that is one thing at 46, yeah. That's another thing when you're 26. Now, if you were 26 and that was coming up and the men were like, we're good, that's usually going to be indicative of something else. So are you certain it isn't anything else? Let me find out here. How tall are you?
5'7".
And how much do you weigh?
I'm 160 now.
Have you always been 160?
No, I'm normally 145 to 165, but I was working out at the gym, injured myself, so I had to kind of stay out for like a year, so I gained. And then the pandemic, was right before the pandemic.
And if I asked to see a picture from your Instagram right now, it would bear out somebody who's 5'7" and 160 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you need to see it? Can you look?
As a matter of fact, I would be intrigued to see that. Because if the gentlemen of Kennesaw are not treating you fairly and they are just missing out on this dime female like that, I just would find that to be just really strange that would be happening. So I just sent you a text message. Okay. I want you to go ahead and send me a link to that. I'm going to put you on hold while you do that, and I'm going to come right back to you here. But, I'm real interested in finding out how in the world that occurred because, that's stranger things. Caller from area code 469, you're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason, this is Big Stump from Dallas, Texas.
Big Stump from old stomping grounds. Dallas, what's on your mind, brother?
Jason, I just want to say, man, hey, these women, if they play the game correctly, they're going to get blessed with everything they ever dreamed of and more. If they there's a lot of guys out here ready to give it to them. If they listen to you, they dial it in, they put forth that effort, they will receive what they want and more. There's so many times you meet these women and you really want to give it to them, but they don't. It's because these relationships is a business transaction. It's a quick pro quo. I'm gonna give you what you want. Just give me what I want. Show me some tribute. Show me some effort. Show me that you really want something more than just a trick. A guy that's gonna pay for your bills for you doing absolutely nothing but laying on your back. We're looking for more. We want more. We really want to bless you. We want to give you everything you dream about. That's all I have to say.
Big Stomp, thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Please do give us a call again. Let me get caller from area code 321. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason. This is Anton from Orlando.
Anton from Orlando, what's on your mind?
I wanted to agree with you. And also with the other callers saying that once they get around close to 30, they don't want to work no more. I used to work at jobs that were predominantly women, and that's all they kept complaining about. They kept calling out You know, a lot of people don't talk about how women always call out, and I'm not talking about the ones with the kids. I would say the ones without the kids call out more than the ones with the kids, from my experience. You know, I'm 34. As I got older, you know, and I used to always date women close to my age, but as I got in my 30s, I noticed all the good-looking women at my age or older, something's wrong with them mentally. You know what I'm saying? And then I really realized why old heads, when I was younger, always dated young girls. Because you see women that's, I would say, past 28 and they still attractive and they've never been in a long-term relationship or never been married, there's a reason for that. Like, something's always wrong with them.
Yeah, I mean, you used to think,
You know
when
what
you
I'm
were
saying?
younger, you used to think that was just a stereotype. And you're like, okay, I'm tripping. I'm overgeneralizing. But then you realize, you know what, there's where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And you start realizing, damn, I've come across too many of them. Once you have enough experiences, you start realizing, nah, I'm not tripping. I'm not overgeneralizing. Yeah, there is a consistent pattern. If they reach a certain age, they're supposed to be getting, because you know, once you start going backwards, it's really once you start looking backwards, you start going to the 20s and stuff and start saying, okay, who's wife material there? And you realize, okay, the ones who are wife material tend to get snapped up quick. And then it's like, okay, well, hell, if they get all snapped up in their 20s, what the hell are these leftovers out here in their 30s? And then once you talk to them for a significant amount of time, you realize, oh, that's the reason. It's like, yeah, at first glance, It isn't readily apparent, but I sit down and talk to you for a minute. Oh, that's the reason. Yeah, right there. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now, let me get a caller from area code 843. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
TBA, Tobias out of Phoenix.
Tobias, I knew you was coming in, brother. Weigh in.
Man, you're right. And like I said, we're about the same age, so we've seen this stuff, right? What women don't get, us black women don't get, is all that stuff you mentioned, buying a house and work like the median income. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Jason. A lot of that stuff is household income, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
It's usually household income, yes.
Yeah. So guess what, people? Household income ain't one person. It's supposed to be two people. It's supposed to be a husband and a wife. Buying a house is supposed to be a team effort, not by yourself. I see these Facebook posts on why more black women buying houses than black men. It's because a lot of these women are buying houses based on emotion. They talk about having a dream car. I remember you said before, it made sense. Men don't have dream cars. A lot of times we'll ride that thing till the wheels fall off because we don't want another car payment. But these women talk about traveling, taking trips. That's all emotional. They talk why black men don't travel. Well, we're too busy working. And we want to take the women that we decide who's worthy on trips to share those experiences. But the problem with a lot of these sisters today is when you meet them and when you ask them about them, so you have general conversation, they act like it's like you read the LinkedIn profile or they talk about it like they're a job interview. And it's just that what they don't get is these people are trying to make money off of them. And you come into all this debt, because you know this, a lot of these sisters buy houses, they paying high interest rates. And a lot of these sisters buy cars, they pay high car notes. I dated some who paying like $500 for a Volkswagen, you know, because they got them. It ain't no man to say, no, this ain't how it should be. You should go, let's go here. Let's do this. But they don't want to listen to a man unless he's a white man. And what happens when they get older, Jason? Now they wish they listened to that man. They realize there may be only one man who's willing to change their lives and take care of them, provide for them. They talk about being entrepreneurs. A lot of this is MLM stuff they're doing also. You know, and you know this, with a business, that costs money and time. You know who would help you with that time, ladies? A man. Hell, and one thing, Jason, men, we sacrifice by nature. We do without to make sure our women are good. You know, but these women don't see that. They don't get that. They want to be trying to compete with us instead of teaming up with a man who's worthy. I'm not talking about Jody or these Pookie and Ray Ray. I'm talking about a man who's worth it. A man who wants to work every day, get up every day to take care of you.
Well,
they don't see that.
It goes back to the reason why those things would happen. Because what we have is a couple of generations of females who are divorced from the motive for why a man is the protector and provider, as opposed to the benefits of being protected and provided for. The reason why a man goes off and makes sure that his female is riding in a certain type of car, the reason why he does that is because ostensibly she's going to be carrying my children in there. So you see, for somebody else, you can go ahead and roll that 82 Elantra. I know, but y'all get the idea. You can go ahead and roll that broke down beater, but if she's carrying my children, she's going to be pampered because I want her to be treating them a certain way. So I'm not going to put her in as many stressful situations as I can. Or if you are in that, you're not going to be in that any longer than you have to be. You're not going to be there any longer than you have to be. But what we have now, I mean, quite frankly, they're inconsolable because nothing makes them happy, or at least nothing keeps them happy. And that's a dangerous habit to have when you cannot be pleased. When you're constantly watching things and it's not enough, when you've got gaps in yourself and you can't be satisfied, the only thing you can do is run people off because nothing they ever do is good enough for you. And that is a formula to work until you die. Take a look at these places where the majority of the workforce is female. They hate each other. You have never seen a place where the majority of the females were the majority of the workforce with females and they were all getting along and clicking. You can have a workplace where there's a majority of men, and for the most part, we're going to get along just fine. The men are going to understand that once the pecking order is established, the men are going to be okay as long as everybody's holding what they're supposed to be. If this is what I'm supposed to get paid, I got to get this. If this is what I'm supposed to receive, I got to get this. And if this will be penalties for not getting it, that's supposed to be meted out. So it's no preferential treatment. The females, it doesn't matter how great. Females will argue and go to war with each other over she looked at me funny, or I think she looked at me funny, or I think she's talking about me, or she's looking at my shoes funny. They have made a lifelong enemy out of that. You need a man because men aren't catty at a job. We're not catty in our careers. We can work with folk and it's not going to sit up here and be a personal annihilation. We're not sitting up here looking for reasons to do that. You need a man because he's going to be much more leveled in that regard. And even if it is a hostile environment, your man is not going to be sitting here getting frazzled to death and scared and worried and looking at the clock, counting the minutes down till he has to go back to work again. We're able to operate under that type of hostile pressure a lot better than females do. That's the reason why. So when he does bring you that BMW, he does bring you that Range Rover, he does upgrade what you're doing, understand it's because he knows what the price of that is and what the cost of that is, and he's willing to bear that. This isn't Santa Claus dropping off gifts. This is a relationship where you have a protector and a provider, and you do your part to inspire him and motivate him to keep doing that. Or he can do it elsewhere and you can just work till you die.
Yep. You're correct. And like when you talking about the car, it made me think when I was in high school, graduated in 97, I had an 88 Corsica. Transmission shot, window to come out. You know, most of us guys, our first car is like a beater anyway. My sister got a brand new car off the lot. And I asked my dad, why y'all got her the brand new car? And I had to beat her. And he said the same thing. You said, like, hey, she needs something nice. She needs to make sure she's taken care of. So you're a man. You'll be fine. And that kind of stuck with me, you know.
I understand that one. I will say for you, in that situation, I don't agree with that one. I can understand some of the rationale. I would take slight difference with that one, to be totally honest. However, where you are concerned, yes. Your boys need to be taught early on. Ain't nobody gonna give you nothing. You also need to be taught how to maintain it. It's good to have a car that's going to start having issues so you can start learning the insides and outs of it. This is why when we go to a repair shop, we don't get overcharged. You're not going to be able to tell us that something's wrong with it that isn't wrong with it. The females go there and end up with a $1,000 bill and only had 2 minor items fixed. Meanwhile, with the men, that's not a routine thing. Yeah, because we usually started with a car that we had to learn. We had to gain a symbiotic relationship with it. Like when a man's in the car, brother, we can tell you if that damn thing's going to start having problems. We can tell if it's running a little different. If we hear the slightest noise in that car that we didn't hear before, if we hear the slightest noise, the slightest tinking, the slightest ticking, the slightest rattle, we know everything. So it's like, for me, it's the speaker system. I keep bumping it too damn much. And I'm like, okay, that one in that door over there is going to go out. You're doing funny things over there. So that's me.
Yeah.
If it's a window motor, you hit that button one time and it stutters before it goes up. Oh, there it is. We don't sit up there and discount it. It's like, wait a minute. And the females be like, what do you mean? What's wrong? You saw the way the window stuttered? Oh, you seeing things. No, I'm not seeing things. It stuttered. It stopped just for half a second before it went up. Got to keep an eye on that. Next thing, so when it does go out, we're like, yeah, I was expecting that. What we do, you catalog that in the back of your head. I was expecting that. A door that doesn't close properly. Glove box. Windshield wiper starts to fray. We won't wait until the scream. The brakes. It doesn't have to be screaming at us before we know there's a problem. We notice the problem when we start to feel it through the brake pedal. You start to gain that type of connection to it. That's the kind of thing that you're not going to just pick up for nothing. If you got a brand new car, you'll never figure those kind of things out. Or it'll be years before you do. So that's the benefit that we gain from that. And you may raise a very good point. Ladies, you can't buy that type of experience. You can't buy that type of experience with a man who's going to know what to do with these things. You can't buy that. Yeah, it's great to have a guy who can buy you a new car, and certainly should. But they should also be able to maintain that. So that's a very good point. I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah. And I say this like one thing. A lot of times with men, we can have frank and honest discussions about, hey, brother, you ain't getting it together. You need to get it together. The things you could do, like you do a lot of these young guys here. A lot of women feed each other bad information and hold them down. Because I remember this woman on TV was talking about the best time to find a woman should find their husband is in college, when they're in college. And I looked online because social media is a good microcosm. So many women on social media was like, that was too early. You need to live your life, all this stuff like that. And I'm like, so you want her to get in a whole phase and mess her life up instead of getting with this guy who could build with her because he's young like her. He got it together. He wants to change her life. But you want her to have the whole phase, have a kid, and now she's like what the old saying, running in quicksand. Or in a 100-meter race, if you saying boat, he's 80 meters ahead of you. Women got to start being honest with themselves, being frank, and say, "Hey, I messed up. Don't be like me. It is hard out here." Because we've seen so many women, Jason. Once they get out there, they got kids. They paying these bills in their house, not just buying a house. Pay for the maintenance, get the yard cut, every little creek and everything in the house, you got to get that fixed. That's why it's a team effort, ladies. The men are supposed to handle that while you don't have to worry about that. If you want to do that by yourself, knock yourself out. That producer is going to find somebody who will accept, is cool with what he has to offer. Because you may only have one shot at a guy like that. They ain't coming, even if the guy has it, it doesn't mean he find you worthy to spend it on you and to produce for you. Hey,
entitlement's a hell of a drug. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Not here, Tobias. Clarissa, I'm trying to come back to you here. I did get what you sent me here. I just wanted to make sure about that. I'm sending you a follow request. So you should receive that here, and we're going to hold a GoFundMe for that phone. We're gonna have a GoFundMe so we can get you that trade out that iPhone 3 you got. See if we can.
It's an X.
Baby, look at it. No, ma'am, it's not an X. It's an X'd out. Now you got the iPhone X'd out. That's what you got. That's the one you're on. Okay.
Now that I know, I'll do better.
Baby, okay. This sounds like one of them busted cardboard speakers from back in the 80s. So, all right. I sent you the request.
I'm just looking for the request.
Okay.
I'm looking, but it hasn't come up yet.
Well, I'm certainly hoping not, because I'm taking a look at the name that you sent me. So are you certain that that's it? Because that's what I'm looking at.
Yep, that's it. It says 3 requests, but I don't see you in here.
Okay, I'm not going to wait too much longer for it, but by the way, are you a light-skinned chick?
Yes.
Okay. Because I sent a follow request to it there, and for whatever reason, it just keeps clicking back to that. So if that's happening, that's because you're denying it. Now, if that keeps happening, it's because you're denying it.
No, I haven't denied anything.
Okay.
It shows 3 requests.
It keeps doing the same thing, so I'm just letting you know, if that keeps happening, that's because you're denying it.
No, I haven't. I'm not. All I'm doing is going to requests and just looking to see what's in there. And there's 3 people, but I don't see one being you.
Okay. Because every time that happens there, it keeps going back to saying, giving the follow option to it. So that seems like you're denying it. Why don't you do us a different favor here? Why don't you just text me a picture?
Okay.
Holding up the peace sign with your left hand.
Oh, right now? Oh, no. They're doing that right now.
That doesn't sound very good.
I washed my hair and I wrapped it. No,
okay, you just washed your hair and you wrapped it.
Yes.
That means she's semi-presentable.
No.
Okay. Well, in that case here, I'm not really sure what's happening, but with that being the case, I can't really do very much more beyond that. If your phone is any indicator of how you're running your life, that might explain a few things. I'm not really sure, but be that as it may, that might explain it. But being in your late 40s and the men hadn't taken you off the market, yeah, every warning sign and every warning flag known to man is going off in that regard. So if you change your mind about that, you can go ahead and do that. But no, the only way I would make sure that your pictures are accurate, that's the reason why if you're going to send me something, it needs to be that, because that's the only way I would know that it's accurate. Anybody can take a picture off a line somewhere, but that would be the only thing I know is accurate, especially if your Instagram doesn't open. So thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. See if you can get that whole situation taken care of here. Crystal, stay on the line for me. I'm going to be with you here in just a moment. Let me get caller from area code 703. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
What's going on, TBA? This is JR from Alexandria, Virginia. What's going on?
JR from Alexandria. What's on your mind?
See that you posted like 2 charts on your video here that pretty much stood out. The one thing about, the 5 women that have to work, those kind of like are related to each other as far as like one without a man that doesn't have to work. She ends up, gaining weight and all that type of stuff. But the other one that really stood out was the percentage of black women that don't have any assets. They're the only one that's over 50%. That ain't good for them.
It's not opinion. It's just math. It's just math.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now, let me get caller from area code 917. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from? Okay, they apparently got abducted. Let me not leave Crystal hanging out there too long here. All right, I'm back with you here, Crystal.
Oh, hi.
Now, let me find out a couple of things here. Just so I can make sure. How old are you?
I'm 34.
Okay. And how old were you when you married the man?
I was 26.
Okay, you got married when you were 26?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did.
Okay. How many children do you have?
I only have 2. I just had one in November of last year.
Okay, how old's your oldest?
He is 4.
Okay. And how old's your youngest?
2 months.
Okay, you're holding the phone kind of funny, so I'm not making out what you're saying. So let me try that again.
Oh. 2 months.
Okay, you have one who's 2 months. I understand you have a lot going on over there, but you gave me a call, so if you're not kind of paying attention over here, I'd have to cut things a little short, so I'm going to try not to do that, but you gave me a call, so you're going to have to stick with us. So let me find out here.
Okay, I will.
How old is your husband?
He is about 35.
He's about 35. We're not sure.
Yes, he is. He's 35.
Okay. And let me find out here, what does he do for a living?
Well, now he works at the Disney Concert Center where he cleans, like janitorial work.
Okay, you're saying he does janitorial work.
Yes.
Was that what he was doing when he met you?
Yes.
Okay. We got a lot of background noise going on there, so I'm going to try to be helpful about this. I can definitely talk to you, but you got to understand, I didn't know we got the daycare going on, but just understand that can be a bit of an issue there. So, were you thinking about...
I apologize for that. I don't want to, disrespect your broadcast.
Were you thinking, were you thinking about doing something different?
I was.
Okay. What were you thinking about doing?
I wanted to work things out with my husband so that I can manage, our family together, because I feel like it would be, my funds are not good for me to be out by myself, and I don't think it's good for my children to see me struggling.
Okay. Well, definitely, I don't think that would be a good look for you here, because you are certainly struggling. That is definitely what you are doing. You just got 2 kids there, and you're 34, and you're struggling while currently on the phone with me. So, you definitely need to work things out with him, because a chick in her 30s in Florida... you say he works at Disney. Wait a minute, are you in California? I thought you said in California. A chick in her 30s in California carrying around 2 kids. I don't know what you think is waiting for you back out here. I don't know what you think it is. Now, when you met him, let me try this again because I'm getting...
Oh, no, I'm just trying to...
Okay, slow down. Slow down. Slow down.
Okay.
Brake pedal. She leads a rather chaotic life.
Okay.
8 years ago when you met him, what was he doing for a living then?
The same type of work at a hospital. Yeah.
Okay. And what exactly is the problem that you have now with him?
Well, it seems that it's always, he doesn't really know how long we can stay where we're living. Like right now I'm living in a hotel. And it seems like, but since I had the baby, like I haven't been able to work because I was pregnant. But now he said he would take care of things, and he was going to move us out of the hotel to live in a house or apartment, at least an apartment. But it seems like we're not, it's been 2 months and we haven't been moved out of there. And he told me that it was because I was spending too much, but I'm really not. I didn't feel like I was, but I did stop, the spending. And so, the other day he came and told me that I brought groceries because we needed some food. The fridge was kind of empty. And he came and told me I needed to refund it. It was through Instacart. I needed to refund the food. And I was like, I can't because it's on its way and the kids need, they need groceries.
Okay.
And
this sounds a whole lot like struggleism here, is what that sounds like.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that your husband's a janitor and you are unemployed.
Yes.
Okay.
I do Instacart
and
when
you live in California.
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been unemployed, Crystal?
For about, it's been about a year, 1 year.
How did you end up unemployed for an entire year and you just had another kid?
I was doing Instacart.
Okay.
But, yeah, I used to work at the post office, but I ended up having a breakdown, and I was hospitalized, and then I lost my job because I couldn't go to work while I was in the hospital.
Understood. So what you're saying is that you had difficulty handling the stress of your job.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that can certainly happen. So what was the plan when she was working at the post office, so she had a federal job, you and your husband were working, you stopped working at your job, now your husband has to take care of both of you. So what exactly was your plan in this? Let me find out, now that you took half the income away here, what exactly was your plan?
I don't feel like I feel like I made a mistake. Like I didn't really think about a plan, and I didn't have a direction.
Yeah, but are you legally married to this man, or are y'all just friendship married?
No, I'm legally married.
So there is a document with the state of California somewhere that has both your and his legal name on it, saying that you are wedded.
Yes.
Okay. So this is your legal husband, and halfway into having a couple of kids with him, you quit your job, so now he's shouldering all the finances by himself, and you had no plan about what was going to happen next.
No, I didn't have a plan.
Okay. And then he's complaining that even after this, you're spending too much.
Yeah, but I haven't. But most of the stuff I spend is groceries. Okay. Like I get my hair done for free by my friend. I'm not really spending. I'm trying to see what am I spending so much on.
Okay.
Because
I just sent you a text message.
Okay.
I'd like a link or your Instagram screen name.
Okay.
So you can go ahead and send that to me here. And let me find out, where do your parents live at?
My mom's deceased.
My condolences.
I don't know my father.
Okay, and what about his parents?
He has a mother. They live in Bellflower, in California, though.
Okay, so his mother lives in California.
Yes.
Is this gentleman black?
No.
And what is his race?
White.
I'm gonna get me a white man. All right. Well, I'd like to all the fellas, all the black men who hear about how we don't do this, that, and the other, and just thought this would be a moment of sober reflection here, but we won't dwell on that very long. Let me find out here. What do his folks think of you?
They don't really treat us with respect. Like I feel
there you go.
My son's hair, because his hair looks like mine, and they give me a hard time. So.
Yeah, I mean, she got a white pookie. I mean, she works. Think about this for a few moments. You made more money than him, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I was making more money than him.
Significantly more. So let me get this straight. A black female, and I haven't asked about you. Are you mixed?
No, I'm not.
Are you light-skinned?
No, I'm not light-skinned.
Where are your people from?
They're from Mississippi.
None of them are from the Caribbean or anything like that?
No, they're not.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I say, basically, she's in California. I'm waiting for you to send me that information, ma'am. It's taking you a few minutes to do that. So I don't know why it's taking so long.
Okay.
But she went out there and got her a white pookie. So she's a black female. She was making significantly more than this guy. She passed by all the other options because she gonna get this white man. And lo and behold, she's probably been spending a lot of time telling black men they're not this, not that, and well, they're not good enough. So let me get this straight. The brothers in California were not good enough, but the white janitor is, and now she was working at the post office, and then out of nowhere, she doesn't even want to take care of Zaddy no more. So I'm trying to figure out, it's like, okay, you can walk off into this, all jokes aside, you can walk off into this, but there needs to be a game plan for what you're going to do next. Now, I'm hearing myself echoing, so we can't do that very long either. If you have a TV on or something else, I shouldn't be hearing myself echoing.
Okay, I'm not sure.
Y'all, her entire life is just struggle. Just everything is struggle.
Oh, no.
No wonder she had a breakdown. It's just she just everything is just hardship.
Everything. Yeah.
I haven't heard a smoke alarm yet, so I guess she's in one of the places that at least they replaced those. I will say this, I don't know what you changed, but whatever you did, I hear myself now, so you're going to need to resolve that. In the meantime, you have not sent me your Instagram information yet.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to do that.
Okay, you know your Instagram screen name, just type it in the text and send it to me. It's really just that simple.
Oh, okay. I'll do that.
They know, they start feeling bad. Once they realize, like, oh, hell, I didn't know you were going to look at that. Yeah, I can take a look at that right now. Well, I thought everybody else do that. Yeah, I can do that too. Really? Yes. I forget what my Instagram is. Okay. Might as well go ahead and let it all out now. Cats are out of the bag.
Okay. Did you get it? Or
I got something. I'll find out if this is it here in just a moment.
Okay.
There you go. All right. There you are, and there's Zaddy.
Yes.
All righty. Yeah, she bet the farm over here, and yeah, there it is. Oh boy, you got a degree too?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I mean, you just got a degree. What's going on?
Well,
what is our degree in?
Yeah, I haven't. Medical billing.
In medical billing. So let's get this straight.
Yes.
You were working at the post office. You now have a degree to be able to do medical billing, but you are still currently unemployed.
Yeah, after I had a C-section, so I had a longer recovery.
Okay, so basically you're trying to come up with all the female excuses possible to avoid working.
No.
Because she's like, look, if I give... No, your natural female hormonal instincts are kicking in to say, wait a minute, if I've given birth, I need to be home with the children making domestic. I don't need to be out here in the world trying to be no go-getter. I need to be taking care of nurturing the next generation. Problem, you didn't make that choice. You did like most of the females out here. You began working first. You said, I'm going to take care of all this on my own. And now you're out here to take care of it on your own.
Yeah.
So that's where you are. So no, ma'am, you don't get to be a stay-at-home mom. You are in California.
That makes sense, yeah.
You are in California. There's a reason why I put up that list of these states. I put up the list of those states so that you all can understand. Oh, you don't get to go home now. That was what you signed up for. You don't get to go home. In California, there, baby. I mean, the median income you can't do that. Median income is $80,000. Yeah, even out there in Lancaster, whatever, baby. There's no cheap place in California. You can't make it on one income. You cannot do this, especially with you deciding that you wanted to have, in the midst of all of this, you wanted to have more children. So what that means is you are about 0% planning.
Yeah.
So what was your sister advising you to do?
She was telling me to leave.
She was telling you to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, there's always some family member sitting up here giving you some impractical thing. They're just giving you what sounds like a simple solution, and it really isn't. So it's very easy for them to say that, but in reality, that's not the best thing. In the old days, let me tell y'all something. In the old days, there was a reason why your parents and grandparents were able to stick together as well as they did, because back in the old days, you called your parents talking about, oh, this, that, and the other happened. We had an argument. We had a fight. We was throwing furniture. Your parents told you, get your ass back over there and work it out with him. No, you cannot move back. You can't move in with us. You can't any of that. That is your husband. That is your wife. Y'all get over there. We are expecting you to be adults. You've created a household. You got to do like we did. Figure it out and make it work. When you took your marital vows, you literally said, in sickness and health, for better or worse. That was what you said.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was what you said, and you were perfectly fine sitting there saying that. What I'm saying is, if you didn't actually mean it, there's a reason why they make it hard to get married. It's not just something, okay, we married and away we go. No, there's a reason why it's a process. You have to take it seriously. Yeah. No, ma'am, this isn't buying a pack of donuts from Circle K. This is a marriage. You had a bunch of other choices, and now you got children involved? No, ma'am. No, absolutely no. What you're trying to do is you're trying to take it easy. You're trying to kick back. You got a man that you think, well, the state has given me a handcuff. Okay. What we're doing here, I'm going ahead and getting things restarted now. So they'll be seeing us here in just a few moments, or at least that's the idea.
Oh, okay.
They can mess with it here if they want to there, but we're going to still make it go ahead and get through to it. That let me find. Okay, for those of y'all, they were messing up with what we were doing here. You know, I was warning you they were going to be hating on it.
Okay.
But what she was explaining to me here is about her situation. She's got 5 siblings. So, and you said you all came up from where? Mississippi?
Yeah, we grew up in Los Angeles. My mom's from Mississippi.
Okay, so your mom came from Mississippi.
Yes, in California.
How many of your other siblings have non-black partners?
Just one other.
Okay, so that kind of tells me the values your mom taught you.
Okay.
Your sister is wrong. What she is saying is a knee-jerk, very low attention span answer. That's not really a feasible one for you. Okay. You have 2 children. This man is doing otherwise. Look, the bottom line is you can't get with a man, marry him, have children with him, because when you do that, you're saying everything with him is okay. And what you all have been taught is that you can just sit up here and change your minds anytime you want to, and it doesn't matter what the circumstances, and the world is obligated to play along with you. No, when you married this man, you were saying he is okay as this is acceptable for me as is. Okay, well, he's a janitor at Disney World. Okay, you said a janitor at Disney World is acceptable. That was what you said. A janitor at Disney World is okay by me. A janitor at Disney World is aight. I work at the post office. He's a janitor. I think we make a good match. Yeah, Zaddy makes less money than me, but I'll accept this. Okay. You can't now jump up 8 years later and say he's not doing enough. He's the same guy.
Yeah.
He's the same guy he was when you married him, but you're now saying it ain't good enough?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, like I say, this female,
it makes sense.
This female entitlement culture where y'all can just sit up here and do whatever, and I'll change the rules and let me flip it at the last minute and stuff. Baby, it doesn't work that way. So right now, just understand, your sister is talking out of her ears. Is she married?
Mm-hmm. She is married, but she's separated.
Okay, then she doesn't have a man who's taking care of her anymore.
Oh, right.
You see what happens when you're a disciplinary problem. Take a look at her attitude. Yes. The only thing she can do is get a man to get up and run from her, and that's exactly what she did. Let me find out from you here. If you did leave your husband, hypothetically, if you did, what exactly would you be expecting to happen?
I wouldn't expect, I would just expect me to end up somewhere like on the county or something. I mean, I don't see with that advice, I don't see anything positive for me. Like, I mean, no matter how bad my situation is, I don't see a future that would be best. I just see like myself probably on the streets or the county.
Well, definitely you would be a single mom with 2 kids in California looking for somebody else to come in and take care of that. And it depends on how much you feel, how eager you feel that the gentleman of California would be to disregard that and swing right into your rescue.
Which, I mean, being that I've been like listening to your broadcast and hearing other people speak about it, it doesn't, I don't really see anybody that would be taking up me in my situation like that.
Thank you. You and your situation. So what your sister is saying is just unfeasible. She's just throwing stuff at the board and hoping something lands. But that's not feasible. That's not going to be something feasible for you. You got 2 kids with this guy here. Nothing you said about him is bad. It's just, okay, we having a bad time right now. Well, that's marriage. What mom needs to do is mom needs to go back to work. Mom is trying to figure out how to attain some stay-at-home mom fantasy. So she's throwing out excuse after excuse after excuse. When she was at the post office, now you were working real hard to get this man. So you were working at the post office and you were perfectly fine being the primary breadwinner at that time. After you get married, then you decide, hey, wait a minute, he's a white man and I should be privileged here. I need to go. Shouldn't I be a stay-at-home mom? Hell no. That's not what you were when he met you. You were not a stay-at-home mom when he met you. You don't get to sit up here and backstab your way to it now. This was what you agreed to. So, no, ma'am, you're not a stay-at-home mom. You're not stay-at-home mom material. You're not in the stay-at-home mom state. You don't have stay-at-home mom options. If you wanted that, you should have got the guy who was running the department at Disney, not one of the janitors. So, the bottom line is, you all's situation is a result of you not working. Once you go back to work, the situation is going to change. DoorDash and all this mess right here, no, ma'am, you didn't go to school for that. You need to go back to work. You need to accept adulthood. And adulthood for you is that you need to work. Now, I'm not going to go into the list of females who have to work, but what I will say is you've been difficult, you're getting older, and if you keep going, you ain't going to have a man. But right now, you need to do that. Okay. So, babies, I'm not going to go too much into things right here, but if you don't rate as a California 8 or a California 10, there goes your ability to get somebody to swing in and be stepdaddy. So let me ask you, do you think that you rate as a California 8 or 10?
No, I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
No,
She's not. You're not a California 8 or a California 10, so... Dude swinging in like Tarzan to play stepdaddy, that's not occurring. So, baby, if you did leave this man, there ain't nothing waiting for you out here but a hard time and a hard way to go. This man is doing what he needs to. You're the one not carrying your weight. You chose to have children in the middle of all these life changes. You knew what you were doing. Ladies, you all have to be responsible for your decisions. You can't sit up here and say, it's my body, my choice, and then when things don't go the way you fantasized, then sit up here and try to cry foul. You were the coach. You had full control. You made all these decisions. Her call dropped here, but you were in full control. You had all these decisions to make. You cannot say, put me in charge, let me make the decisions, let me sit up here and decide how it's going to go, and then when it goes wrong, oh, wait a minute, it's the man's fault. No, ma'am. Y'all have to let that crap go. So just be aware, what she's finding out, and she worked for the post office, what she's finding out is, man, it ain't nothing nice out here. It ain't nothing nice out here. All you can really do is jump out here and suffer, but it ain't nothing nice. It ain't nothing nice. You can do things, and you can run from one place to another. That's what her sister's doing. Her sister's trying to figure out where she can go. Let me see if I can get me somebody. Her sister doesn't have any options. She doesn't even have any options. I'm going to see if I can give her a call back here, because actually I want to ask something. See if I can get her a call back on the line. See if I can get her back on here. Tell her to wake up.
Please leave your message for 213.
Okay, she's got a struggle phone going on here. Her battery must have died on that iPhone 3. So the battery died on the iPhone 3, so we lost it on the operating table. This is the common situation that we're running into out here now. This is it. Ladies, it wasn't nothing like you prophesized. It wasn't anything like you fantasized about. There's nothing out here. You are either going to get with a man and win, or you're going to try to do it on your own and suffer you will. Not because Jason Black says it, not because I'm just talking crap or I just wish it were. It's got nothing to do with that. It's not coming together is what I'm trying to tell you. It isn't coming together. It's not something you can really make happen. The only thing you can really do is get ground into the concrete. Once you go off into these are huge corporations, huge government agencies. They put this math and these numbers together forever to be able to make sure that once you went in, you will never be able to get to a point where you can get out. That's the whole point, is that they want to make sure they can retain the workforce for as long as they want you there. Once you go into this, you don't get out. It's rigged. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is the whole damn situation is rigged. And the only way that you can unrig it is if you do something that tilts the scales in your favor. The scales are unfairly tilted out of favor for you. You can follow all the rules. You will end up losing. The only way to win is for you to bring in reinforcements. But the most idle threat and the most foolish words in the world are, I'll make it on my own. Please. All you're really about to do is say, you know what? I'm just going to commit emotional suicide. Screw all this. I'm just going to go off myself. Okay. Well, a lot of them doing that too. And by the way, I wanted to call her back and ask her how many other black females were there at the post office. I'm just curious. How many of them were there? How many of them were at the post office? How many of them were hanging out there? How many other females did she have there? All of them in the same boat. Making median income, all of them in the same boat. I did tonight's program because I wanted to make one very clear declaration. Black women I'm sounding the warning for you here, and I'm talking about the ones in your 20s. Take a look at the chicks in their 30s and 40s and 50s. They are self-destructing by the millions out here because they are coming to the stark realization that their degree and their job, they grossly underestimated everything. They thought that they were going to be able to be the bullies of the world and found out that it cannot work. You will either submit to a man's leadership or you will submit to someone's misleadership or to the exploitation of the society that already has that pre-programmed in. But you will submit to something. Now, if you find the right man, you can negotiate with him because you got leverage. The system, there is no leverage. It simply seeks to suck you dry, crush you, destroy you, and move on to the next one. This is not my opinion, it's math. The real reason that most of you have a problem with dealing with this subject is because you don't actually even know what it takes to be able to retain them. You've lost the vocabulary for it, or you are so dysfunctional that in many ways you become young hermits, young female hermits. You've lost your womanhood. And a female without her womanhood is like a man without resourcefulness. He's not a man anymore. He's a lampshade. He's a stop sign. He's lost his worth. I hope this has been a cold splash of water in your faces here. For those of you who still have time, take the threat seriously because the threat is real. For those of you who are low on time, I suggest that you take the threat seriously as well. Who knows? There might be one fella out there who remembers you from your younger years. Maybe he's got a side chick position open for you or a nostalgia slot open for you. Maybe he does. I don't know. Because you're going to end up going through your Rolodex one way or the other. You're going to end up doing that. By the time you break down and finally succumb to it and just say, screw it. By the time you do that, though, they may not be answering at that point. I recommend you don't let it get that far along. Or go ahead and see if you can make it for yourselves. But the math and the numbers and the current statistics bear out all this really happening is a very long, slow, laborious death. This program is going to stay on YouTube tonight. For real, for real. Nothing happened that I think would cause me any trouble here. That's why they were messing with it. But I definitely want you all to go ahead and stay abreast of what we're doing. If you are new here to the business, welcome to the program that laid the foundation upon which all of these red pill, MGTOW, high value posers, alpha male frauds, and all the rest of these clowns are going to be ripping off and stealing the jargon and the philosophy and the teachings here and trying to reword it on their channels in their lame way. This is the place that gives you the real. You heard tonight just a piece of what makes us the trendsetters and the foundation for all these other YouTube channels. Click that red subscribe button, click that yellow notification bell, and YouTube gave me a warning that they were going to be unsubscribing people from my channel, so check to make sure that you are still subscribed. You heard what makes us different. We gave you the analysis, statistics, and the backed up verified data with sources. That is not our opinion. We are telling you what the final results are, grim as they may be. We are not giving you the information and analysis and the commentary we are because we're wishing. We're telling it to you based upon the current situation as it's unfolding as we see it. Now you can make a decision. And for those of you who are still raving about last night's program, 6 hours of groundbreaking content that's been moved over to Patreon. So if you are a member of Patreon, you can go ahead and check that out. If you are not a member of Patreon, you want to go ahead and do that. So you can go ahead and check that out as well. Very glad to have you all with us. We're going to be doing this again here real soon, as only we can. So I want to thank you all for joining us here. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to tonight's program on PayPal or Cash App. Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate that. I look forward to speaking to you all here again. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, handle your business or your business will handle you.